Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to today's discussion on a topic that holds immense significance for the geopolitics of South Asia. The topic is the change of regime in Bangladesh and its impact on India. With the historical, economic, and political ties between the two neighboring countries, any shift in leadership or policy in Bangladesh could have far reaching consequences for India and the region as a whole. Today, we have with us two immensely experienced people on the two countries, that is India and Bangladesh, and we shall discuss with them the impact that this particular regime change has had on our country. Before I begin asking questions, I'd like to introduce the two speakers who are going to be talking today. Dr. Sanchita Bhattacharya, she's a research fellow with the Institute of Conflict Management. Her core area of research are madrasas education in Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan. She has several publications to her credit and has great insights in the topic of our discussion today, which is the change of regime in Bangladesh and its impact on India. The other guest on the screen is Mr. Sipal Singh. He is the president of NISSMAT, which is the National Institute of Security, Safety, Management and Applied Technology. Under the aegis of NISSMAT Forum, this discussion is being held today. I would jump into my first question, and that is to talk about the historical context of Bangladesh and India. After 1971, how have various regimes that have changed, they have been impacting our country and our change in policies and procedures that have occurred during the last 50 years. Sanchita.
Hello, sir. I'm really thankful to Mr. Pal Singh and you as well for inviting me for this engaging discussion. I'm also thankful to NISSMAT for inviting me. So regarding the historical aspect of Indo-Bangladesh relation, I would like to say that, as we all know, India had a very major role to play in the creation of Bangladesh. We have given a logistic support to the Mukti Jodhas. We had our own army operations which were taken place in Bangladesh, and we were one of the major first countries to recognize Bangladesh as an independent country. So this was the initial phase of Indo-Bangladesh relation, and when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman joined the government making policy decision and he became the president of the country, for the initial 2 or 3 years, we see that Bangladesh was following a very secular path of nation building. They were giving more importance to the language, Bengali culture, and Bengali ethnicity. And by the end of Mujib's term, before he was assassinated, a very important development takes place in Bangladesh, as a result of which he joins the OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries, and he also visits Pakistan. So we can say that though Bangladesh started its journey as a secular country, though Bangladesh started its journey on the basis of its different ethnic and linguistic background, over a period of time, this interference of rightist forces or the interference of Islamist forces actually started from the late phase of Mujib himself. He was also trying to he was also trying to showcase multi-religious image of Bangladesh to the international community, but at the same time, he knew that he also needs the support of the Islamic countries. That was one of the reasons why he joined OIC. And after his assassination, when we see the emergence of Ziaur Rahman as the head of the state, and gradually when he was like killed and then Ershad comes, we see a change in Bangladesh's policy towards India. Because first it was pro-India. I won't say it was like completely pro-India, but yes, they acknowledged India as a country which supported them. But by the time Ziaur Rahman came, he said his policy of Bangladesh nationalism was very different from what was the policy of Awami League. He said, okay, fine, we acknowledge India as a facilitator, but now we are a different country. We are an independent nation. And he gave importance to Bangladeshi nationalism. He said, we will have good relations with India, but not at the cost of our own existence. We will have good relations. We will have cordial relations with other countries as well, like Pakistan or other Islamist countries in China, as a matter of fact, and with US and other countries. So he started diluting India's presence in the scope of Bangladesh. He started diversifying his relations with other countries as well, which was actually taken forward by Irshad. And later on, when we see when BNP comes to power, the same thing happens. Now, this is a stark difference between the policies of BNP and also the policies of Awami League, which were followed by these two leaders, Sheikh Hasina and Khalida Zia, respectively. Like Sheikh Hasina gives a very major, she gives a very major a part of her policy making to India. She gives a good share to India. Like Bangladesh, before she was ousted, Bangladesh was one of the major trading partners of India. This space was given by Awami League. And when we compare it with BNP, when we compare it with Khalida Zia, we see that she also follows the same line which was chalked out by her husband, that yes, we acknowledge India as a neighbor, we acknowledge India as a major country, but India should not interfere in our sovereignty. India should not dictate terms with us. Whenever there is a cooperation, whenever there is a, like, say, for example, whenever there is a infrastructural activity which happens between India and Bangladesh, roadways or the lines like the Benapole, Petropole is there, and then Akhauda and Agartala. The main concern of BNP, the main concern of Khalida Zia's government was that these things are just a way for India to monitor Bangladesh. They say that we should not be dependent on India solely. So this is one of the major point of contention between these two figures or these two approaches. So I would say that, yes, sir, please.
I'll carry on from here.
Sure, sir.
You say, actually, the two parties, that is, I will call it the party of Mujibur Rahman, Awami League, and her successor now, and also the Khalida Begum, they have been arch rivals in some sense, because Khalida Zia regime has always been pro-Islamic radicals. Khalida regime, right from the when they started, they had historically also anti-Indian Bangladesh national policy. I'll call it anti-Indian Bangladesh national policy. They had this BNP, as you said, Bangladesh National Party, with a previous tenure, which was marked by rabid Islamic militancy at that time and against India. Although interim regime of Muhammad Yunus now has promised to hold free elections, it seems doubtful to me, because unless India takes some reasonable measures immediately, otherwise the free elections are not possible. In case BNP wins the election, the historical hostility of BNP will become much more rabid, and it will create difficulties for India. I am of the view that in the rise of Islamic militancy in Bangladesh would become really a problem for India and its safety in due course of time. On the northeast region, you have what problem? And let us recollect how sometime back 10 truckloads of arms were shipped through Bangladesh to the insurgent in the northeast when Kharida was the prime minister. In northeast under BNP regime, sometime back, not only this had happened, but instability in the Indian borders they have been tried to create as not a good neighbor at that time. Going into the problem at length and turbulence in the neighborhood like Myanmar, impact also on other issues like economic interests of India, adversely affecting exports to Bangladesh, etc., etc. There are a lot number of other problems which are likely to arise in case the government which is not inclined towards India as Mujibur Rahman Awami League or Hasina government was there. Therefore, the subject basically, the heading is that with the change of regime in Bangladesh, what is going to be the impact on India? So I want to emphasize on this point. We can have with the unstable neighborhood, turbulence in the neighborhood in Myanmar, you can have certain impact in economic issues, you can have adversely affect the exports to Bangladesh, and there may be many, many more other features. So I am of the view that mainly let us confine. Historically is all right, but at this point of time, we are at tenterhooks. India is at tenterhooks, and how should we proceed? And how should we not proceed so as to make it more amenable neighbor close by? Thank you, Sangeeta.
Thank you, sir.
I have another question to ask, and that is, how important is Bangladesh's location for India's strategic interests,
Okay.
particularly in terms of countering Chinese influence in the region?
Regarding China, a very disturbing thing which has happened, like we all know that China is notorious with its own treatment of the minority Uyghurs in the Xinjiang province. China has taken drastic measures. It has, crossed all limitations of human rights violation in the Xinjiang province. But conversely, if you see what China is doing post August 5th in Bangladesh is very strange, and it is very striking because the Chinese ambassador in Dhaka, he has recently met with the Jamaat chief. Mr. Shafiqur Rahman is the Jamaat chief right now, and he had a discussion. He had a long meeting with Jamaat chief in its headquarters, which is in Mokbajar of Dhaka. And in spite of China's own history of being a totalitarian regime, in spite of China's own history of having no regards towards the ethnic and religious minority, for the first time, China has given a political statement that it considers Jamaat to be a well-organized political organization. Now, this is a very major event which has taken place in last 1 month. The recognition of Jamaat-e-Islami as a well-organized political organization by the Chinese ambassador it shows a red flag towards India. Why am I saying that? Because in coming months, we will see 3 power centers in Bangladesh. One will be the army, the second will be Jamaat and its affiliates and other Islamist forces, and third will be this, caretaker portion of Bangladesh led by Muhammad Yunus. So there will be 3 power zones, and there will be a tug of war between these 3 people, these 3 centers. And giving recognition to Jamaat and giving support to Jamaat, which China has done, is actually a red flag for India, because they are showing their support towards the radical elements. Jamaat is a political organization, but at the same time, we all know that Jamaat is a composition of radical Islamist leaders. It is a conglomerate of radical Islamist jihadi force. So China is giving legitimacy to this jihadi force. China is giving legitimacy to this radical organization, which will definitely have a security impact towards India. Because Jamaat, after the ban has been removed, like few weeks back, the leader of Jamaat has already started giving anti-India speeches. He has already started engaging in pro-China and pro-Pakistan activities. It is actually threatening India by saying that, we recognize India as a neighbor. But as I was just mentioning like a few minutes back, the same policy which BNP has, Jamaat is also following the same tone, that we are giving, recognize India as a neighbor, but India should not interfere within Bangladesh's policies. India should not interfere within Bangladesh's economic relations with other countries, and it should not meddle with Bangladesh's own, existence. So in a way, just after coming to power, Yunus has being in collision with these Islamist forces. And another very disturbing thing which we see, that Hifazat-e-Islam, which is again a counterweight which actually Hasina wanted to create against the Jamaat, it itself is again another radical Islamist group. And one of its students' leader, Mahfouz Alam, is now the advisor of Muhammad Yunus. So we know the trajectory in which Bangladesh is heading. And China's recognition of that unfortunate Islamic trajectory is actually a warning for India.
As a strategic location is concerned, Pawan tried to understand that recent past, because Myanmar is on the neighborhood, recent past has reported in the South Asian Intelligence Review about 15,000 Rohingyas. 15,000 Rohingyas have been allowed to get into Bangladesh from Myanmar via the Cox's Bazar inroads, Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. And of course, the smuggling ring is being utilized for the purpose of Rohingyas coming in. Once Rohingyas are inside Bangladesh, the subsequent flow of problem, as far as India is concerned, can be envisaged. But Rohingyas are already a problem because of the porous borders. And now with the arrival of more Rohingyas in Bangladesh, and if they are pushed into India, you can understand the statistically how difficult it would be. Another thing, which is very important from the point of view of the recent development. As it is, there is a Ansar Allah. He is, as Sanchita will tell you, he belongs to a team known as ABT, that is Ansar Bangla team. He is the chief of that, Rahman Hafi. He, along with Al-Qaeda wing, which is operating in India, has issued a statement in the recent past. He has said that in due course of time, we'll hoist our flag, or the Islamic flag, in Delhi. You imagine the radical elements, how they are getting filled with the change of government. Earlier, the same man, that is Ansarullah, he was behind jail. He was only released in August, a few weeks after overthrow of Hasina. So you imagine how the strategic location by the side of border of India, and how the radical elements are being filled up by the present regime. Unless, of course, some curbs are introduced after the new regime comes into power or the fair elections are held, which of course is very doubtful. Therefore, I am of the view that there is going to be a lot of impact as far as India's position is concerned, not only from economic angle, not only from the strategic location of Bangladesh close by, but also from the radical groups who are already being given a little bit of impetus, also from Pakistan and also by the Al-Qaeda wing in India. So therefore, the impact on India has to be thought of with lot of concern and gravity.
We have almost a 4,000 kilometer border with Bangladesh. And with this shift of leadership, how is it going to affect the India's border security, particularly in terms of illegal immigration, cross-border trafficking, and regional terrorism? Sanchita, would you like to go first on this?
Yes, sir. Another very important major statement which has come from Prime Minister of India, like 2-3 days back, is that he has given a statement on September of 15th that illegal infiltration of Rohingyas have not only happened in the neighboring states of Assam and West Bengal, but it has now percolated to Jharkhand. The PMO has outlined 2 regions of Santhal Pargana and Kolhan as completely affected by the incursions of Rohingya. And why it is so important? Because for the first time, I think the Prime Minister has acknowledged the fact that these 2 areas are facing demographic shift. It is an extremely important point. It is an extremely important subject when we talk about internal security of India, when we talk about border management, because the routes which these Rohingyas take to infiltrate India are basically in the West Bengal districts of North Chobis Pargana or South Dinajpur or maximum Coach Bihar, which is again in the northern territory, northern part of West Bengal. Now, Prime Minister acknowledging the fact that there has been a shift in demography in not in a bordering state, but in Jharkhand is a major event which has taken place. And I'm just talking about the, what to say, it is a tip of an iceberg, because the MHA in its report has given a statement that India now has around 40,000 Rohingya illegal refugee. Now, 40,000 is nothing. It is just a government estimate. And most importantly, which we need to understand, and is that India is not a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention. We have never been part of the Refugee Convention. So we have no place. We should not legalize, we should not normalize Rohingyas, we should not normalize illegal Bangladeshi immigrants coming inside India and diluting the demographic composition of the country. And these Rohingyas are not only limited to the bordering states. Now, MHA has again given another report which is extremely disturbing, to the point that Rohingya colonies, there is illegal makeshift colonies, are there in Jammu, as far as Jaipur, as far as Hyderabad and Bangalore. So these are a very disturbing fact for India, because Rohingyas are notorious. I'm not trying to be judgmental, because Bangladesh itself is facing a Rohingya problem since 2017. Rohingyas are notorious not only for like illegal smuggling of arms and ammunitions, but narco dealing, human trafficking, organ trafficking, robbery, systematic abduction, systematic rape and assault of women. So it is no more a problem of Bangladesh. We always think that Rohingyas are a problem of Bangladesh because of this porous border and because of ambiguous border policy, which we have been following with Bangladesh since 1971. We are facing this trouble of Rohingya infiltration inside the country, which now even the Prime Minister is acknowledging. So I would say it is an extremely disturbing thing which is happening in terms of our national interests, in terms of our national security. So this is my observation, and I would like Mr. Singh to carry on. Like, what is his observation?
Yes, you have touched at length about the demographic problem likely to arise in India by entry of the Rohingyas in large scale. And we have already referred in our discussion that already Bangladesh is having about 15,000 Rohingyas in the last 1 month from the coast border via Myanmar. In addition to the problems which are there, let us try to see what Bangladesh aspired some time back. They had announced a policy which was called Forecast Goal 19 and 2030. Forecast Goal, and that forecast goal was giving 2 points in that. First of all, fill up to the economy, and second was as far as the aspirations to make it a good military organization. In this military regime, they had also indicated that certain hardware for military, to make it more modernized Bangladesh military, they will have some hardware from India. So India was listed as a valuable destination for Bangladesh for hardware for their army. This had aroused the curiosity at that time when they announced this policy. This had aroused the curiosity of China also, that China will be left one side. And so therefore, with the change of government, what is going to be the policy of New Bangladesh in terms of their forecasts? If they continue to rule for the next 5 years or so, with the support of BNP and all, then what will be their policy? Will they have armaments, etc., depending on China? Will they like to have some hardware, etc., from India at all? And all this is going to have a lot of problems in times to come. So uncertainty as to what shall be the policy of the new Bangladesh is really a problem, and we have to see it with all apprehensions. We have to watch it as to how they are going to make out their new policy as far as economic development of their country is concerned, as well as the modernization of their army is concerned. So this is a second point which must try to keep in view all of us discussion.
Now, you see, there are two important organizations in the region. One is SAARC, and the other is BIMSTEC. How will the change of regime impact both these organizations, in your opinion?
Sir, please, could you like to answer it first?
You see, as far as SAARC is concerned, you know, there are a lot of apprehensions were created in the last meeting of the SAARC as to how Pakistan is going to behave towards SAARC. It is almost, whenever you talk of SAARC or the other organization, think in terms of what has been the policy of Pakistan, and think that the new Bangla regime, if it follows the policies which were earlier followed by Khalida, if it follows the policy of the righteous group, then obviously it will react in the same manner as is act of the Pakistan. So you cannot change the reaction because almost a new regime, almost a regime which has just not, it is yet to flower into it. Muhammad Yunus may say anything that I'll bring about independent and free election and all. That is, time will tell. But as far as I anticipate, I feel that irrespective of his assurances that we will have an independent election, I have my apprehension that it is going to be a difficult time for India. It is going to be a pro-Islamic, pro-radical group which will come into power. And this pro-radical group and its affinities or discussions or differences between SAARC and other groups is going to reflect the policies of the Pakistan, because it will be more oriented towards Pakistan policies. It's not going to have an independent policy of its own, as well as I feel.
There is a river that flows from India into Bangladesh called the Tista River, which comes down from Sikkim into Bangladesh. And we've had a lot of concerns with Bangladesh on the sharing of water of the river Tista. The West Bengal Chief Minister has been very vocal on her opposition to any arrangement being arrived at with Bangladesh. As far as Sheikh Hasina was concerned, she had put it on the back burner, and it wasn't one of the major issues that was being spoken of. But now with the change of regime, do you think that it will boil across?
Well, in the anticipation, I am of the view that all these measures, of course, you are given as well as the strategic location is concerned, as well as China's getting into this is concerned, border security is concerned, whether there will be shift in the Bangladesh leadership, and this shift will also affect its relationship with other countries, particularly in terms of immigration, or particularly in terms of influx of people, or border trafficking, or regional terrorism. I mean, these are the main points in the strategic location. Either is a border trafficking, or it is illegal immigration, or it is a question of drugs, or is it regional terrorism, or it is a question of territory. Now, there are four issues which normally concern in any study. In this case, I can only anticipate that at the moment, the worry should be the crisis likely to be with the influx of people from Bangladesh, from other neighboring country to Bangladesh to us, or secondly, the implication could be in terms of what is going to be the ideological position of Bangladesh. As far as other conditions are concerned, I will not be able to give any anticipation as to how China will react. But I am of the view that as far as China is concerned, they'll try to cultivate as much as possible.
The river has got nothing to do with China. It's purely an Indian water which is flowing into Bangladesh, which was a matter of concern. Sanchita, you'd like to say something on that?
Yeah. Sir, recently a development has taken place, like in the interim government, Sayyida Rizwan Hassan is the advisor of the government with related to like water resources and others. Okay, so she has a meeting with the World Bank delegation, and post that meeting recently in the month of August, or maybe initial days of September, she has given a statement, and it is the stand of the at present interim government of Bangladesh that they would try to resume the talks. For Hasina, actually the entire this Tista controversy went into the back burner. Now the interim government is saying that we will bring it back on the table. We will have a discussion with India, and we will also assert our rights of a riparian country. Because when we talk about rivers, it is the upper riparian country and the lower riparian country. So Tista, if we see, it has a it originates in certain areas of India and is bordering Sikkim, then it flows towards Bangladesh. So India is an upper riparian country in the terms of the Bangladesh as a lower riparian country. In spite of being a lower riparian country, now Bangladesh is asserting its river rights. It is saying that we will bring back this conversation, and we will also have a dialogue with India. We would like to have a dialogue with India with respect to the future water sharing between the two countries. So as of now, these are the two important things which we see.
Now, as far as the military cooperation is concerned, we did speak of the military cooperation earlier. During Sheikh Hasina's early this year in her fourth term, we saw that the chief of the Indian Army had visited Bangladesh. The Bangladesh chief came to India. The Air Force chief went to Bangladesh. The Bangladesh Air Force chief came. There was also a team which visited the National Defense College in New Delhi. Now, there were a lot of talks of military cooperation between the two armies. With the change of regime, do you think it will go on to the back burner, or do you think it will follow the same footsteps?
Sir, please answer, then I'll just carry on.
I have already told that in their policy of 2030, they had said at that time that we will cooperate and get help from India in terms of their own hardware and military operation. Whether they are going to have it there now or not, I have my doubts that instead of getting from us, they will tilt towards other countries like China, etc., that try to appease those countries. Instead of they will tilt towards that. They will forget about what they were dependent, unless you have got some pressure tactics like, all right, we'll stop your energy, because the energy, electricity is basically going from India. So you say, we are not going to give you any electricity unless you get that. That sort of thing is different. But as far as their intentions are concerned, the intentions will be not to depend on India for the military cooperation or military help or hardware.
Yes.
The intention will be to depend on other countries so that they can show that we are a regime in ourselves. We are not a regime which is only guided and only done by India as they think has been so far. That they are being guided in this respect, we go by that. They guide in this respect, they go by that. Now they are going to tell you that no, we are not that. We are not going to go as you desire. We have got our own home, we have got our own identity, and we'll show our identity. So therefore, unless they're pressurized due to certain economic reasons, all of a sudden, or in terms of, as I call you, that people-to-people contact relations, some people-to-people relations may be there, or because of the pressure exercised by the Indian government in terms of not supplying them certain essential things like energy and other things, then they may tilt a little bit towards India. But intentionally, or I would not say, are suo moto, thinking themselves they'll not. Their idea would be to show Bangladesh as an independent regime which can manage its affairs, not depending entirely on India.
Sanchita, you had something to say.
No. I was talking about that, regarding this defense cooperation and dealing, there has been a change. Like now, the people who are influencing Muhammad Yunus, people who are behind the interim government, are actually trying to negotiate a nuclear deal with Pakistan. Not for defense purpose, but at the same time for other infrastructural development for its use in non-defense sector. And their logic behind having a deal with Pakistan is to minimize again India's influence on Bangladesh. And as they are saying that recently, these advisors are saying that India is actually a bully. It always has been bullying Bangladesh. So in order to counteract that, we need a different partner, and that partner is Pakistan, and we should settle our historical, differences with Pakistan. This is a very new thing which has come up. They are saying that we have to forget what has happened during the liberation war struggle, what the people of East Pakistan has gone through. We have to not forget that. We have to come in a space where we are having we are reinventing our relation with Pakistan, especially in defense deal.
This was an article which appeared on the JEM also, and I think day for yesterday or something, this did come out. And there's a professor who has made
yes. He also gave a statement. He gave a lot of, it was a very vicious way in which he was saying that he was he was threatening India. He was threatening Indian establishment. So all these things have not come out of their own. This actually shows a mindset.
If you look at it, Sanchita, now look at the situation in Pakistan today. The Afghans have attacked Pakistan.
Yes.
They have entered almost 50 kilometers of the Pakistan territory, set up border outposts inside Pakistan territory.
Yes.
What can be worse for that country? And Bangladesh may want a lot of things, but Pakistan is not in a position to give anything today.
Maybe in papers, sir, I would say. Just to be in a good book of the radicals, they might not do it in reality, in actuality, but maybe in papers in coming months, we see some sort of, defense cooperation between these two countries.
Defense cooperation, if defense, firstly, the problem will be, and which has always been traditionally, is how does Pakistan support Bangladesh militarily over Indian territory? That is not going to be possible.
Yes. That is there. Geography is a very important factor.
The geography does not permit what they may want to do. Ideologically, they can talk to each other, but Pakistan is in the midst of a crisis of its own. And for $7 billion, they are running around the IMF, which have still
Yes. That's true. That's there. These are the changes, or these are the shift. These are the ideological shift which is happening inside Bangladesh.
BNP is traditionally, is of the opposite side of the Awami League.
Yes.
And therefore, the problems are accentuated. But now let me just shift over. Mr. Sipal Singh was talking of the power situation. And
sure.
So, we had the Adanis in news where Adanis claimed that they have $800 billion to take from Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is probably not in a position to give this money. And so we may just see the stoppage of electric power from this plant into Bangladesh. And also, I am given to understand that the Hilsa fish, which was being imported from Bangladesh into India, is also now going to get stopped. So
these are just tactics. We get more Hilsas from Myanmar. India actually gets more Hilsa from Myanmar than Bangladesh. These are just, I would say very futile.
But the point is that Bangladesh does earn money from the sale of fish to India. And also, if the energy from India is stopped, because they cannot pay. So they're not earning money from a particular export. And if you looked at it in last year, the Bangladeshis exported 1.7 billion worth of goods to India, and the total trade with India was about $14 billion.
Yes,
So
yes.
as it is, they are about $12 billion short
Deficit, yes.
on the trade surplus. So they have a lot of issues which are going on. How do you see the future of energy cooperation between India and Bangladesh?
Sir, I think I'd like to intervene for 1 minute, half a minute.
No,
You
sir,
see,
please
I
carry on.
had earlier touched the issue that some time back, Bangladesh has aspired for quicker development and modernization of its army some time back, and they said policy 2030. That's what they said, forecast. In that, India was listed as a viable destination for certain armaments, certain hardware, etc., to be supplied to the Bangladesh army. I have touched it. That was from the point of view of the army. As far as the economic issues are concerned, sir, it is equally. We are exporting most of the cotton to Bangladesh, and we are getting benefit. I think 80% of the cotton from India is exported to Bangladesh. So we have also economic interest in Bangladesh. As far as they are concerned, they also have economic interest. So this is a question of mutual thing. At this point of time, I'll not be able to give any forecast. I am very sure at this stage that it will be more in terms of ideology. When the next 1 month or 2 months or 4 months, you'll come to know it will be more on the basis of ideology. Whether the ideology is rightist or absolutely neutral or leftist or liberal. I am of the view that unless they decide on their ideology, all things are linked with that. Because if ideologically the rightists come into power, or the rightists who are hating India, they come to power, they'll not like to. They'll try to suffer. All right, we'll suffer. Let us see. You are not giving us this thing, we'll not get your cotton. So that is a difference of opinion, what they can do, what they cannot do. At this point of time, the present incumbent, Yunus, said that I will have fair and free election unless the regime which is going to come after election is known to us. We cannot anticipate as to what is going to be the effect, whether we'll go to China, whether they'll go to China, whether they come to us. But I am of the view that at this point of time, our worry should be in terms of the radical, the infiltration. We are already having problem of terrorism all around. In Northeast, we'll have a problem. J&K have a problem, and this will be another front created. Because if the terrorists start infiltrating, we'll have another problem. So my point is that as far as we are concerned, our emphasis at this point, our main concentration should be as to what regime is going to come. If the regime is going to be neutral, then of course we say what economic policies should be adopted, whether we should be having a union with them, whether water supply should be there, whether the train they have started some time back between Dhaka and Calcutta, they should continue. These are all issues which are there. Any regime will consider in due course of time, but basically it will all depend as to what impact it is going to have as far as the borders are concerned, as far as our national security interests are concerned, as far as the fundamentalism is concerned, and as far as, see, another very important one, as far as how many Hindus have been uprooted or will be uprooted from Bangladesh, and they have to come to India, and what will be the reaction from India? That is the impact.
What do you think is going to be the impact of travel, education, and tourism between India and Bangladesh? And if you are aware, India has given a lot of medical facilities to Bangladesh, where one patient can travel with 3 attendants into India. Nowhere in the world does this happen, but between India and Bangladesh, there's a treaty which says that with every patient, 3 caregivers can be brought in. So travel, education, and tourism. Uh, what is the likely impact on with the change of regime as it stands? We cannot predict the future, but as it stands today, where do you think it is going, Sanchita?
Sir, actually, these three aspects of travel, education, and tourism, it is actually these three things are connected with the political and social stability of a country. If the country is unstable politically, if the country is unstable socially, obviously it will have a very negative impact on the aspect of tourism, on the aspect of travel, on the aspect of education. Because US has already started giving its travel advisories to its own citizen, what not to do in Bangladesh. Post August 5th, if we like follow the US travel advisories, it has given a very negative report on the internal current situation of Bangladesh. So definitely once unless and until there is a stable government, whether it is it is a civilian government or a military government, that is not important. Unless and until there is a safe situation inside Bangladesh, there will be problem with respect to these three categories of travel and tourism and education, because a lot of Indian students were also going to Bangladesh for various degrees, for getting various technical degrees, like for engineering or for medical and other degrees, which we saw in last week of July and first week of August, that lot many Indian students were actually called back. They came back to India. Why they came back to India? Because we all know, because of the political turmoil that was going inside the country. So first, Bangladesh needs to settle its own disputes. First, Bangladesh needs to settle its own home ground before jumping into all these things. And as I was saying just now, travel, whether it is education, whether it is tourism, these three sectors are correct, are like they are directly related with the political and social and also the economic front of a country. If US is giving travel advisory to its citizens, obviously EU will also follow the lines of US. And it is not showing the political situation of Bangladesh is not very conducive for foreigners right now entering the country. For non-Muslim foreigners entering the country, you never know, anybody can be abducted, anybody can be held hostage, anything is possible. And especially for India also, I would say all these students who will be going back or who have already gone back, they need to be put under watch, because it will be a very volatile situation. It is as of now a very volatile situation. Until a stable government comes to power, this volatility will continue. So it will have a very negative impact on all these three sectors that you rightly mentioned.
Mr. Sipal, would you like to add anything to it?
Everything depends on the government which comes into power. So I am of the view, people-to-people relation with the change of rupee is definitely going to impact the strong relation which we have. It's definitely going to impact the strong people-to-people which we earlier had. These ties will definitely be affected, especially in terms of, you said, travel, especially in terms of tourism, especially in terms of education. It will go low. It will go low. This is my anticipation.
Okay, now you see, we have a large Indian diaspora in Bangladesh. And with all this turmoil that is occurring, the diaspora is slightly worried in Bangladesh. What is your opinion on this? And do you think it will change?
Sir, would you like to answer it?
Yes, same. Diaspora which is there. Naturally, they like to work there. If the conditions are congenial, our diaspora will work there, stay there in Bangladesh. But if the conditions are not congenial, then diaspora will also living and working in Bangladesh will get affected. Then diaspora will also get the same sort of mental tension which other Hindus or minorities in Bangladesh are having, irrespective of whether they are on the diplomatic front. They may also have to come back. We will continue our diplomatic relationship also. Therefore, I cannot say anything that will be very cordial. We want to. Definitely, we want to have the diaspora living there. They should be able to live there. They should be able to work there in Bangladesh. But the conditions which are seen, the way they have been, some of the radical groups and some of the groups which are not having this farsightedness, the way they are burning and have burned, the minority communities' houses and attack them, it is definitely going to have an impact in India also. So I am of the view that definitely the diaspora will have adverse effect working there with the new regime. It will have a reverse effect.
Sanchita?
Yes, sir, as we saw after Hasina came into power in January for the fourth time, there was the initiation of India Out campaign by BNP and its affiliate. Now, India Out campaign was directed towards upfront. They were saying it's more of an economic movement of the common people who are fed up with India, but at the same time it definitely has a political and strategic backing. India Out movement was actually a sort of very anti-India policy which the opposition has taken a stand. And this India Out movement, if we see continuation of such India Out movement or any other flare up of any movement which is related to India Out movement in coming months, then definitely it will have a very negative impact on the Indian diaspora staying there. And more or less, I'm not going into politicization, I'm not going into the sensationalization of the attacks on minority, but according to their own sources, according to their, there is an organization, BHBCOP, and according to the report of that organization, more than 200 incidents in 1 month. If we take a stretch of mid-July to first week of August, within 3 weeks, recorded 200 incidents have taken place against minorities in Bangladesh. So obviously these Indians who are working there, the diaspora community must be having a huge chunk of non-Muslim workers or non-Muslim people who are there. They might be Buddhists, they might be Christians, they might be Hindus. So obviously they will have a threat perception, whether we should continue our work inside Bangladesh or not. The same thing when we saw in Iraq. If we go back to 90s, India has a substantial working population in Iraq. And during the time of a Gulf War, those people decided to come back. Most of them came back, and we had a very good relation, very good working economic relation with Iraq. And just because of the political instability, these people had to quit their job and come back. So it might happen that, keeping all these things in our mind, that these attacks on minorities and India Out policy and going towards China and going towards Pakistan, it will definitely have a very mental pressure on the people who are working there. It will have a pressure, it will have a, impact on their daily life. Their children are going to the schools, whether they are international schools, maybe they are in a barricaded, high-end localities of Gulshan in Dhaka, but obviously they will have an impact. And unless and until the interim government gives a very strong statement that we will protect minorities, we will protect the non-Bangladeshi diaspora who are working inside our country, we will protect the working community of Indians who are working inside our country, there will be a problem. So I think in coming months, unless and until this interim government takes a very strong stand with, giving security and, safety to these people, Indians working there, they will come back. It is my assumption.
Okay, now, is the problem only related to the Indian diaspora or also the workers from other countries?
Definitely, I would say other countries also. Not only, it will have a spillover effect. If a major chunk shifts, obviously it will have a spillover effect on other communities working inside the country.
And the net effect is going to be on the earning capacities of the individuals, because Bangladesh was on a trajectory of high growth.
Yes.
Where the per capita income had crossed that of India.
Exactly.
And now with all this turmoil that is occurring, their exports will suffer and their trade will suffer, and eventually the money in everyone's pocket will decrease. Now, let me ask the last question, and which is the most important question. How should India prepare itself diplomatically for the change of the regime in Bangladesh?
I would like to say that India has to be very cautious. Right now, we are not in a position to predict anything. We are not in a position to act, whether we like it or not. we have to be extremely cautious in our own, we are actually walking on the edge of a sword right now. If Bangladesh is taken into account, we have to be extremely vigilant. We have to be extremely cautious in coming few weeks and also coming few months, because we cannot compromise our economic investments inside the country, which we have done since 15 years. We cannot compromise the people-to-people contact, which has been established over a period of time. We cannot lose these, these are the important, these are at stake. These are our stakes: the economic cooperation, the water resource, the people-to-people contact. And we have to be very much, we have to calculate our steps. India needs to calculate its steps, how we shall approach and whom we should approach, whether we should approach the army, whether we should approach the interim government, or how to tackle this radical element, because this radical element is also having an impact on the army. Why am I always talking about, I'm coming back to this radical element? Because radical elements are present in all these three centers. They are with the UNIS's interim government. They are also with the army. So we have to be very much pragmatic in our approach to deal with these radical elements and how to protect our own interest in Bangladesh vis-a-vis China and vis-a-vis the Southeast Asian regions. Because for us, Bangladesh is a corridor for Southeast Asia. We have this Look East policy now, we have Act East policy. So Bangladesh is a very important element of this Act East policy of India. So we have to be patient. I would say we should not jump into any conclusion as of now. We still have some time. We have to analyze. We have to just, have a very, we have to be monitoring the situation, the domestic situation of Bangladesh. How is it going? In which direction it is going? And accordingly, we need to have a very pragmatic foreign policy approach towards Bangladesh. That is what I think as of.
But I feel now, keeping in view the impact is likely to have, as Sanchita has pointed out, there has to be a potential change in the foreign policy. There has to be a potential change in the foreign policy, and also as our security concerns are concerned. We have to think of it in very, very deep terms. That is not necessary that we're going to have always okay from Bangladesh. Therefore, the potential change in foreign policy is required at this time.
Before I end, I'd like to just ask all our viewers to sort of like and subscribe and share our video with as many people as you can. It will inspire us to do better and bring up topics of greater interest. I'd like to thank you both for your valuable insights on this critical issue. As we have seen today, the change of regime in Bangladesh is a multifaceted event that could have wide-ranging implications not only for India, but for the entire South Asian region. From security concerns and economic shifts to the evolving dynamics of regional cooperation, this is a time for both nations to carefully navigate their relationship. It is clear that strong strategic diplomacy and mutual cooperation will be key to ensuring stability and growth. I hope that this conversation has shed light on the importance of maintaining and strengthening the partnership between India and Bangladesh, regardless of any political change that has occurred or is likely to occur. I'd like to thank you both for your time and participation.
Thank you. I would like to thank NISSMAT for inviting me, and also thanks to you, Ahluwalia sir and Singh sir. It was a very engaging discussion we had for an hour or so, and it was a very nice experience I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you.